This is the NFL. This is the NFL. This is the NFL.
They were bold from the first, bold in dreaming, bold in persistence. But it was no mere boast because they made their dreams come true. The words are Catherine Drinker Bowen's, and she used them in reference to those intrepid men and women who first settled the vast, wild reaches of America.
And Pat, I think those words could just as well refer to the 35 rookies he opened this bicentennial year as starters in the NFL. 35. And there's no doubt in my mind that every one of them possesses a boldness that places them in a cut above the average rookie. And if this boldness is accompanied by persistence, then these first-year men can make their dreams come true. For they'll one day become the experienced and respected old pros of tomorrow, the men who've really been there.
Perhaps the boldest of 1975's rookie crop is Don Hardiman, number 30 of the Houston Oilers. For every 7 times I carry the ball, I'll score twice, boasted the rookie from Texas A&I. In his pro debut against the New England Patriots, Hardiman carried 18 times, and although he did not score, he blasted his way for 96 yards. Each time I carry the ball, he says, it's a memorable experience. Just playing with Hardiman must be a memorable experience. His Oiler teammates have nicknamed him Jaws in tribute to his verbosity. More subtle, but just as effective, was another Oiler rookie named Robert Brazile, number 52. Brazile played an active role in Houston's ball-hawking defense, which held the Patriot offense scoreless. But the Houston offense could not score either, and the game was won by defensive back Willie Germany, who picked up Mac Herron's fumble and tallied the game's only touchdown to give the Oilers a 7-0 victory. Another rookie standout on opening day was Oscar Rohn, number 81, a 6'6" tight end for the Cleveland Browns. Quarterback Mike Phipps found Rohn a handy target and passed to him 6 times for 70 yards. But Rohn was a hero in a losing cause as the Browns lost to the Cincinnati Bengals 24-17. A hero in a winning cause was little Rick Upchurch, number 80, a rookie wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Upchurch teamed with veteran quarterback Charlie Johnson on a titanic 90-yard scoring pass against the Kansas City Chiefs. Upchurch gained 153 yards receiving and forced the Chiefs into overly cautious pass coverage. In the fourth quarter, Kansas City played deep and loose to defend against the long pass, and Charlie Johnson riddled their secondary with short completions. Johnson rang up 300 yards through the air, but it was these shorter passes in the fourth quarter that led the Broncos to a thrilling 37-33 come-from-behind victory. I've been playing in the NFL for 15 years and in more than 150 games, said Johnson, number 12. But this is one Sunday I'll never forget. It was also a Sunday that Steve Bartkowski, number 10 of the Atlanta Falcons, will never forget. In January, Bartkowski was the most publicized quarterback in college football and the number 1 draft choice of the NFL. When he arrived in Atlanta to sign his contract, the 3 TV channels interrupted their programming to announce that his jet had touched down. Last Sunday, in his first game as a pro, Bartkowski skillfully manipulated the Falcon running attack. But when the St. Louis Cardinals stopped the ground game, Bartkowski was forced to pass, and not as successful. The furious pass rush and sophisticated zones of pro football have long been the bane of talented young quarterbacks like Steve Bartkowski. Every veteran quarterback who has weathered the corrosive climate of the NFL will explain that learning to decipher the defense is the most difficult task to master.
For me, the toughest aspect of breaking in as a pro quarterback was getting to know the defensive strategies, getting to know what the defense was trying to do, even if it was, at that time, just a few coverages, man-to-man, maybe a zone one way and a zone another way. You still had to learn what they were trying to do to stop you and what your receivers would have to do in order to get open.
Rare indeed are the rookie quarterbacks who achieve stardom in their first season, and rarer still are those who excel in their first game. In fact, most veteran quarterbacks remember their first pro game as only a bittersweet memory.
I think it was about the third preseason game, and up to that time, through, say, 7 weeks of training camp, I was feeling pretty confident that I knew the man-to-man, the difference between man-to-man coverage and zone coverage and weak zone coverage. But we went up against the Packers down in Jacksonville, Florida, and I threw touchdown passes, my first two. But they were to the cornerback of the Packers, Jesse Whitman, and the second one was to Willie Wood, the safety man. They had been practicing and working on a new type of man-to-man coverage, and they caught a rookie right at his weakest moment when he thought he really knew what was going on. He had no idea.
Ironically, the ability to read and to anticipate defensive strategy gave 10-year veteran Jim Hart of the Cardinals the chance to defeat the Falcons. A safety blitz by Atlanta backfired when Hart anticipated the move and beat the blitz with a timely toss to Earl Thomas. Thomas' score added momentum to a Cardinal comeback that ended in a last-second victory when another veteran, 35-year-old Jim Bakken, kicked a 25-yard field goal that spelled defeat for Bartkowski's Falcons 23-20. Bud Grant, the coach of the Minnesota Vikings, is another man who understands the value of experience. The captain of his team is Jim Marshall, number 70, a 37-year-old defensive end who is proof that an athlete can be both old and bold at the same time. Marshall has played in more consecutive games than any defensive player in the history of the NFL, and he is still one of the most relentless pass rushers in the league. Marshall's close friend and teammate for 12 years is 33-year-old Carl Eller, number 81. Like Marshall, Eller's skills seem undiminished by time, and he still merits double-team blocking in passing situations. Like most Viking veterans, Eller plays with the zest and gusto of a rookie, and his determined pursuit and hustle make him one of the game's most unique defenders. Eller and Marshall are a prominent part of the most opportunistic defense in the NFC. Making a mistake against the Vikings is like bleeding in front of a shark. The veteran Minnesota defense racked up one touchdown against the San Francisco 49ers, then turned the scoring chores over to another seemingly ageless teammate, Fran Tarkenton, number 10. 15 years ago, when Tarkenton began his pro career with these same Vikings, the experts of the NFL belittled his scrambling, undisciplined, almost haphazard style. Today, the critics are silent. By the time Tarkenton retires, he will probably hold almost every passing record in the book, eclipsing even those of John Unitas. As usual on Sunday, Tarkenton exhibited his remarkable ability to always find the hot receiver, as Minnesota calls the open man, or the cheap receiver, as San Francisco calls him. But there was nothing cheap about this beautifully executed play-action pass that Tarkenton fired to Brent McClanahan to wrap up a satisfying 27-17 win for Minnesota's proud old pros.
The men of the special teams are special indeed. They're sort of my kind of people, Pat. They play at least 1/3 of every contest and get about 1/10 of the credit. They're headbusters and game breakers, and they labor in the high-velocity regions of the game.
Tom, throughout the first Sunday, there were men of the special teams who won games, wreaked havoc, and proved that the bomb squad can often be responsible for the victory explosion.
The impact of special teams is so important that George Allen once said, "You can foretell the outcome of the game on the opening kickoff." What Allen meant was that the team that wants to win the most will hit the hardest right from the first whistle. The word field position has become a tired cliche, but usually a towering punt backed by spirited coverage strangles an offense down deep. Conversely, the return team can provide the game-breaking play if it holds up the pursuit for a water bug like the Bengals' Lamar Parrish, an expert in escape and evasion. A blocked punt often determines the ebb and flow of team morale. Against the Vikings, a block by the 49ers' number 52 Skip Vanderbunt resulted in 6 points by Dave Washington. Although the block punt did not alter San Francisco's fortunes, 3 block punts by the Detroit Lions ruined Bart Starr's debut as head coach of the Packers. The Lions towed out and fired in on rookie punter Steve Broussard, and they bruised his body and his psyche. Capitalizing on Broussard's first game jitters, number 23 Levi Johnson flew in to snuff a punt and recover it for the first Detroit touchdown. For the luckless rookie, Lion Lightning struck a second time when another perfect block by Johnson was turned into another 6 points by number 51 Larry Ball. Ball's touchdown was the stepping stone in an eventual 30-16 victory for second-year coach Rick Warzano. While brilliant special team play resulted in a win for the Lions, it was not enough to deny defeat for the fired-up Philadelphia Eagles. 3 times the Eagles beat the ball back into the face of giant kicker George Hunt, and all 3 times it was middle linebacker Bill Berge, number 66, who catapulted over mass bodies to flag down certain scores. Usually such heroics result in victory, but the New York Giants, under the firm hand of quarterback Craig Morton, responded to adversity with big plays. The biggest play came with less than a minute to go, and New York leading 16-14. With it 3rd down and 11, Morton gambled with a 50-yard bomb to Ray Rhodes. Bill Berge was a fierce competitor to the final whistle, as witnessed by a futile try to block a meaningless extra point. On a day when special teams decided many games, the most extra special performance by number 66 was obscured by defeat. The Giants' 23-14 triumph was spurred by an unconventional call by the veteran quarterback Craig Morton, who explained his reasoning to reporter Stuart Ross in the locker room right after the game.
Craig, you're winning 16-14, about 30 or 40 seconds left in the game. Why you throw the long bomb, which could eventually end up in a disaster?
Well, because I anticipated a blitz again. They had blitzed us. I knew they were trying to get the ball, and so there was a rookie out there, and Ray had been getting deep pretty well all day, and I just, you know, I thought it was time to try it again. There was nothing to lose, and that, you know, with any kind of a pass laid up in the air, I knew he'd get it, and he made a great catch out of it, and it turned out to be a good play.
This must build the confidence of the New York Giants, who opened the season with a win away from home, their first game.
Well, it's been a long time since we won, and since I've been here, and it's a great feeling. We had a good preseason, and it all paid off today.
Certainly the wildest game of last week took place between the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. Denver's Charlie Johnson, with whom we spoke in the first part of the show, needed all of his veterans poised to keep the Broncos in the thick of it.
And you know, Rick Upchurch, Pat, one of those bold rookies whom we also saw in the first part of the show, started down that road toward making his dreams come true. Well, Pat, every week of every season produces some outstanding individual performances turned in by men who contribute above and beyond the call of duty, and sometimes even beyond their own normal capacities, I think.
Last week's truly outstanding performers were Burt Jones, Kenny Anderson, and O.J. Simpson, three men who inspired their teams to impressive opening day wins and started visions of grandeur dancing in their coaches' heads. Kansas City's rookie head coach Paul Wiggin had dreams, too. Dreams based partly on the skills of 8-year backup quarterback Mike Livingston, the man who long ago broke most of Dandy Don Meredith's records at SMU. Number 88, rookie tight end Walter White made his first professional catch, one for the book. The Chiefs were on top early, and when the veteran Charlie Johnson tried to play catch-up on the next series, ubiquitous cornerback Emmett Thomas was there. Thomas put the Chiefs in position for a surprising second quarter lead. Running back Oliver Ross, number 30, finally got the Broncos moving. When Charlie Johnson finally got himself unlimbered, he found Haven Moses with Denver's first successful pass of the season. 1st and 10 at the 13, and the stage was set for the grand entrance of the 5'9" rookie from Minnesota, Rick Upchurch, number 80. Upchurch stood out even more since he was the only player with a plain blue helmet. The reason? Simply because he had split his regular helmet wide open during a first period kickoff. Dr. Johnson soon dissected the Chiefs with another rookie receiver, number 82, Jack Dolbin. Midway in the second quarter, the Broncos had gone ahead of the Chiefs for the first time in the game. Mike Livingston then proved that after 8 years of sitting, he hasn't forgotten how to run. Not scramble, run. Livingston's play-action pass to Woody Green put the Chiefs back in front, with time running out in the first half. Play action worked once more, this time for Charlie Johnson, who faked again and then found his tight end, Riley Odoms. The Broncos got closer before the half, but were forced to settle for 3 points and a halftime stalemate. On the third play of the second half, Charlie Johnson threw about as far as his 36-year-old arm would allow. Number 80, you remember him, the rookie, Rick Upchurch, almost disappeared over the horizon, and the Broncos had their biggest lead of the day. Mike Livingston still had a trick or two left to try. Number 85, Barry Pearson, alias the Pretzel, brought the Chiefs close enough for a field goal, which again cut Denver's lead to 4. The following kickoff brought further unusual happenings. The recovery led to a score which again put the Chiefs on top. Then came another twist of fate, this time with Otis Armstrong carrying the ball. The recovery by Jim Marsalis again gave the Chiefs a field goal and a subsequent 6-point advantage. On the next series, things again went awry for the Denver offense. Mike Sensabaugh's interception led to still another 3 points for the Chiefs. And early in the fourth quarter, the hometown Broncos failed by 9 at 33-24. And then the old pro again went for the rookie, Rick Upchurch. Once again, Otis Armstrong became involved in a stranger-than-fiction type play. Number 82, Jack Dalbin, recovered Armstrong's fumble for a touchdown, and the Broncos trailed by only 3. With time running out, Denver needed the ball one more time, and they got it after stopping the Chiefs' next series. A 30-yard punt return by Rick Upchurch set the stage for a 30-yard pass to, well, you know by now. The rookie got him there, and then it was up to the veterans. On 3rd and goal from the 10, 15-year pro Charlie Johnson found 8-year pro Billy Van Heusen. And the Denver Broncos had pulled off one of the most thrilling opening day victories in pro football history. It took the perfect blend of youth and experience. And on opening day 1975, that is precisely what the Denver Broncos had.
The expression is one of easy confidence. In Billy Kilmer's case, that means 4 touchdown passes on opening day. The first couple went to number 42, Charlie Taylor, who after last Sunday's contest needs but 46 more receptions to become the leading receiver in professional football history. After Charlie finished his acknowledgments, the 35-year-old Kilmer was airing it out again, this time to rookie number 36, Ralph Nelson. Then Mr. Kilmer wrapped up the whole thing with a perfectly executed pitch to number 87, Jerry Smith. And while the Washington passing game in particular was impressive last Sunday, the running attack was given a needed boost with a return to action of number 43, Larry Brown. Making his comeback from knee surgery, Brown debuted with the game's longest run. And a couple of minutes later, Brown slipped past defenders for the game's longest reception. In all, it was yet another courageous day in the remarkable career of Larry Brown. Also out to test an injury was Saint quarterback Archie Manning, who despite a broken left arm was the surprise starter. That was about the last surprise of the day, however, as the Saints offense was all too predictable in the clutch. Besides betrayal by his receivers, Archie's offensive line was porous at best, and freelancing against the Redskins is no place for a convalescent quarterback. No matter which direction Archie and company turned their strategy, the Redskin elders countered with a clout. The Burgundy and Gold gang got better as the game wore on, and that meant plenty of trouble for St. Archie. Fittingly, the defense administered the coup de grace when St. running back number 27, Rod McNeil, was stripped of the ball, and number 59 linebacker Brad Dusick scooped up his first touchdown as a pro and completed a 41-3 Washington victory. It was all just the sort of scenario that Washington head coach George Allen lives for. And at game's end, old George was chalking up his 10th consecutive opening day victory. But for San Diego head coach Tommy Prothro, opening day only brought severe anxieties, and the reason was obvious. The psyched-up Pittsburgh Steelers were in town, and his young Chargers were soon to be harshly shown the way of the world champions. And all 3 Charger quarterbacks were thrown into the pack of frenzied Steeler defenders. And as you can see, it was a terrifying experience for all of them. So emphatically did the Steelers clamp down that at game's end the Chargers had never advanced beyond the Pittsburgh 40-yard line. With the defense maintaining its shutout intensity throughout the game, Terry Bradshaw was dealing an equally hot hand for the offense. His game stats, 21 for 28 for 219 yards. Forced to punt only twice during the game, there was lots of time for Steeler touchdowns, and the first one was airmail. Bradshaw to Frank Lewis. A repeat look at that play clearly shows the interference infraction and the beauty of a perfect play. The second Steeler TD came on a screen to Frenchie Fuqua, whose end zone fumble was recovered by teammate Jerry Mullins for the score. But there was nothing sloppy about the next score as Terry Bradshaw launched his second touchdown pass. This one to number 82, John Stallard. The defending world champions wrapped up their gaudy 443 yards of offense when number 44, Mike Collier, rambled into the San Diego end zone to punctuate a 37-0 declaration. The Steelers are still number 1.
For head coach Tom Landry, 1975 will be a year spent blending his remaining established veterans with a wealth of young talent like his first draft pick, defensive lineman Randy White, and a starting rookie offensive guard, Burton Lawless, a man with a name as rugged as any cowboy could have. However, the Rams have a front four which is about as lawless and tough as any around. And throughout the afternoon, a power quartet of Dreyer, Youngblood, Brooks, and Olson pounded the Cowboy offensive wall and then hounded quarterback Roger Staubach. Staubach's pass pocket repeatedly collapsed under a fierce Ram assault, and when the Cowboys turned to their ground attack, the results fared little better. The Rams defense played tough football throughout the afternoon, causing Tom Landry to change the pace of his multiple offense. Dallas mixed in a formation which they used at times during the preseason, as Staubach shifted 7 yards deep into the shotgun formation. The purpose was to give the passer more time while spreading the defense out, and Staubach was quick to exploit the open field left by the scattered Rams. Staubach's bursts up the middle kept L.A. honest, and the shotgun formation continually flooded the Rams secondary with wide open targets. Sometimes, though, perhaps too wide open. After thinking about the opportunity blown, rookie Scott Laidlaw bolted right back to redeem himself on a surprise run from the spread. All afternoon, the Cowboys penetrated deep into Ram territory. Yet it was several Dallas miscues which kept the game close. Though a Staubach to tight end Billy Joe Dupree score was canceled on a holding penalty, Dallas later regained the touchdown and took the lead. However, of 27 plays run inside the Ram 20-yard line, the Cowboys could score only one touchdown, relying on place kicker Tony Frisch, who delivered 4 field goals for a winning margin made safe by a brutal performance by Dallas doomsday defense. In an awesome display of pure brute strength, Doomsday leveled the Ram offense and allowed only 135 yards in total offense. Rookies like Randy White, number 54, blended in quite nicely with young veterans like Harvey Banks Martin, number 79, and old vets like Jethro Pugh, number 75, to gobble up turnovers. The spirit and enthusiasm of the young infected the old as the once emotionless Cowboys jumped for joy, cheered, clapped, and laughed their way to their 11th straight season-opening win. Dallas played with confidence and poise, steadily applying pressure on Ram quarterback James Harris, number 12. Turnovers that were just barely out of reach were only temporary setbacks as 13-year veteran Leroy Jordan and the rest of the Dallas defense forced 4 Ram fumbles and 3 interceptions. '11-year veteran Mel Renfro, number 20, collected 2 of the thefts and left the field displaying the new Cowboy exuberance. The Cowboy bench, once filled with matter-of-fact expressions, now lauded every defensive move as Doomsday closed for the kill to claim an 18-7 win. With an emotional squad that averages barely 3 years of pro experience per man, it may be too early for the Dallas Cowboys to claim that they are number 1. But if for only this week, why not?
Rookie head coach Ted Marchibroda's Baltimore Colts rise and fall on the strong right arm of third-year quarterback Burt Jones. But last week against the Chicago Bears, Jones added a new dimension to the Colt attack. Jones's wanderings from the pocket set up Baltimore's passing game nicely, as rifle arm Burt drilled wide receiver Glenn Dowdy in the Chicago end zone. Jones completed 15 passes on the day for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns, and his second scoring toss looked pretty much like the first. The Jones to Dowdy combination accounted for 2 touchdowns and some fancy spiking, as Burt Jones led the young incoming Baltimore Colts to an opening day win in Ted Marchibroda's head coaching debut. In Cincinnati, the #1 Bengal, as usual, was quarterback Kenny Anderson, who combined with speed merchant wide receiver Isaac Curtis to cover a whole lot of real estate. One of the NFL's most feared passing combinations, Anderson and Curtis teamed up to rout the young Brown secondary for 6 completions and 127 yards. When not advancing through the air, Anderson mixed in a bit of razzle-dazzle as Boobie Clark powered to 6 points. The shell-shocked Browns staged a second-half rally as linebacker Charlie Hall capitalized on a mistake. Offensively, the Browns got close often but scored infrequently. Here, versatile Greg Pruitt wanted to throw an option pass but then decided to do it himself. But Cincinnati survived 2 other second-half Cleveland drives. And though the Browns twice knocked on the door, the Bengal defense hung on just long enough for the dynamic duo to do their thing again. Kenny Anderson to Isaac Curtis. All the offense the Bengals needed to defeat their cross-state rival. In Buffalo, the Bills left Joe Namath's pass receivers empty-handed. With the wind at his back, Joe Namath went to his game plan, who on this day was number 88 tight end Rich Castor. Looking for the quick kill, Namath tore into the injury-plagued Buffalo secondary, this time sending Castor deep down the middle. The result, 6 points. Joe Namath completed only 14 of 36 passing attempts, but his 2 touchdown strikes kept the Jets close. Here Namath rifled a scoring pass to minuscule wide receiver Eddie Bell. But up in Orchard Park, New York, the man of the hour was O.J. Simpson. Following his main man, number 67, Reggie McKenzie, the game's most exciting runner twisted by, hopped over, and carried jet tacklers for 173 yards and the early NFL rushing lead. Simpson's 173-yard performance didn't include 73 yards nullified by an assortment of penalties. With the additional yardage, Simpson would have totaled an incredible 246 yards rushing, 4 yards short of the NFL single-game record, held by none other than, you guessed it, O.J. Simpson. Here, number 32 followed a fine trap block by Joe DeLamalure, number 68. As if not enough, the Juice scored 2 touchdowns, this one icing the game away. O.J. Simpson earned Player of the Week honors in leading the Bills over the Jets. In Buffalo, the winning formula remains the same: a healthy O.J.